Hi, Annie Bohealer here. Thanks for tuning in. I am hopping on to share a little bit of free flow consciousness around um, the generalist piece. I just changed the name of my YouTube channel from Somatics with Annie to the Wellness Generalist. And one is just because I was smoking weed the other day and I was like, that name came to me and I thought it had a good ring to it. And I identify as a generalist, so I'm going to speak to generalism, education hierarchy, and classism, and then kind of weave that into what's happening with the psychedelic movement, which, yeah, might be kind of like obvious, and just naming those pieces and problematic or places of concern, perhaps. Just things to be aware of. So one, generalism. People used to be a lot more oriented around generalism versus specialism. So generalism, like I can build the garden beds and work and do these carpentry and also be able to do like some numbers things and like just general education, trades, and for me as a permaculturist, as an ecologist, as a relationship specialist, I'm inherently a generalist because relationships are the space in between two things. This applies to everything. This applies to our intimacy, you zoom out, our communications, and it applies to like our social structures and our ecology, our general environment, social ecology, non-human neighbors. So that in comparison to specialism, you know, if I had continued on the track with my undergrad and become like a specialist around ecology, a certain area of the world, like I'm studying, you know, certain, endemic species to this area. I was studying a certain type of weasel at the end of my college degree, and how because they don't have corridors and they often get hit by cars on highways, yes, there are enough numbers of fishers. Fisher is a type of weasel. However, they're all separated and they can't get to each other because they don't have natural corridors in their environment. So just using that as an example from my ecology background, like honing in on a special, very niche piece, which is super important, like very valuable. So our general education system in America hones in on specialism. It is about specialism. Unless you are maybe a community studies person, something like that, that could be like in and of itself is kind of general. But our education system focuses on specialization. So as you go up the academic hierarchy ladder, you are becoming more specialized in a thing. I forget who said this, but I remember when I was first starting to like clue in on this, somebody I was listening to, so I'm sorry, I can't remember where it comes from. They're like, yeah, so we have these environmental specialists who could tell you a million and one things about that one iceberg. But like, what about the social ecology that's connected to like our ability to reconnect with nature and these pieces that are the in-between pieces. So what's happening now, because the education system is kind of we have all the online education platforms. People are realizing, like, some people are realizing, like, following certain academic tracks just kind of fits you into like reinforce the status quo, and like it doesn't reinforce like our ability to or help us learn how to work together or foster creativity or innovation necessarily. So it's kind of like there's a lot of free material out there. Like, why would you pay for that when that education's free? So my point is, specialism and generalism are both important for different things, different reasons. We need specialists and generalists, but what we don't need is everybody to be siloed separately in their specialization. Social workers and city planners, women mostly being in social work, men mostly being in city planning. Back in the 70s, when women went back into the workforce, they wanted to separate these things. So since then, because men didn't want to work with women, and they're like, social workers can go over here, they can get paid less, and we don't have to listen to them. Social workers and city planners don't work together. And that's why our cities are like, so just to name that, like, we cannot be siloed, we must work together. This is our kind of shared growth edge. And so in addition to that, we have many unnecessary hierarchies, of course, where economic disparities and gaps being kind of at the core of most of our challenges. So there's an academic hierarchy, like, okay, I am a sexpert. So I don't have certain letters behind my name, though. So I have been rejected from trainings that I've paid for and been certified, where they won't allow me to speak or be a part of their programs because I don't have certain letters behind my name. So basically, that, I'm going to refrain from naming the institution, but basically what they're saying is they don't have faith in their own institution as being a full education program, even though it's certified CEUs for people who are licensed. So anyways, so there's this theoretical learning that happens in the academic system. And then there's experiential learning, experience. Are institutions that don't change very quickly because they've been built up. The bigger something is, the harder it is to have flexibility within that system. It's a big system. These universities have been around for a while. There's money. Hard to change, slow to change, slower than what's happening out in the world. So when we value certifications or letters or theoretical education over lived experience, we are reinforcing an arbitrary hierarchy that was once created by people in a system that aren't necessarily relevant to, like, what we might be working on. Like, for example, healing through psychedelics or with the support of psychedelics. Definitely more of an experiential based situation. I'm going to try to keep this video short, so I'll just name that I had the honor of meeting a very honest, open person who is of the first cohort to graduate in Oregon, first legal psilocybin facilitator. And this person had sat for someone on a journey with mushrooms one time ever. And those folks graduating from those programs are not required to have relationships with these medicines, these natural medicines, and they're not really required to have a lot of experience. So I hope to take up more space just in this kind of space to educate and let people know what their options are in general. So I hope you're having a beautiful early winter time so far, and I wish you a beautiful rest of your day, evening, night. And thanks again for tuning in.